Joining us now, member of the Select Committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. He led yesterday's hearing, and Walter Isaacson has the first question. Walter?
Thank you, Congressman, and thank you, Mika. Lots of times hearings like this have certain purposes. I was talking to Sarah Longwell, a Republican focus group leader, and she said it's really moved the needle that Republicans, especially pro-Trump Republicans, now no longer want him to run. And sometimes it's a criminal referral, but let's leave that aside. What type of legislation do you think might come out of this hearings or should come out?
Well, and to address your point, one of the things that I thought really important to get across yesterday was we talk about the attack on our democracy. That's a kind of an intangible idea for most Americans. We wanted to put a human face on what does that look like, because it's an attack on individuals carrying out their roles in a democracy. In terms of what will come out of all of this legislatively, look, there are reforms that we're looking at to the Electoral Count Act. This century-and-a-half old piece of legislation, deeply ambiguous. It came down to a close presidential election, and it turned on an interpretation of this. We would be in a real constitutional crisis. And there are other reforms as well that we're looking at. But at the end of the day, my takeaway, frankly, from two impeachments and an insurrection is if we don't have people in Congress willing to give meaning to their oath of office like those public servants did yesterday, none of it works. You can have the best drafted laws, you can have the best procedures, and people always find a way to undermine them if their oath doesn't mean anything, if they're not willing to accept the truth. And so a key part of these hearings is to get the truth out and to expose the danger we're facing.
Congressman Schiff, Elise Jordan here. News broke that there is even more documentary footage of Donald Trump and his family giving interviews and hearing what they actually think about the election and what they thought at the time and their strategy. Can you tell us about that footage and what do you know?
Well, it's hard for me to go into evidence that we are obtaining, but the reality is we are obtaining new information every day. And some of it involves video footage, some of it involves people who are willing to come forward. And we will be displaying some of this new information to the public, perhaps in the near future. And this has been the challenge, frankly, with the hearings is as we prepare for one, we get new information we want to incorporate into it. And it's a continuing struggle because we want to get this out. We want to get it out quickly, but we also want to get it out in a way that the public can understand. But yes, we're getting new footage, we're getting new information, and we will be providing that to the public.
Congressman, it was striking yesterday at the end of the hearing that Congresswoman Cheney made such a direct appeal for Pat Cipollone, who was White House Counsel, to be part of these hearings. Can you give us an update as to where things stand with him? Will we be hearing from him? Will he be testifying for the committee? Your colleague made it seem like he was very central to what you're trying to do.
Well, look, he clearly has important information. We heard testimony about what his views were, for example, on this phony elector scheme, this fake elector scheme. But there's nothing quite like hearing it from one of the principals. And so we would like him to come in. As you've seen, when we've taken the step of subpoenaing people, holding them in criminal contempt, we have about a 50-50 chance with the Justice Department to get them to prosecute. And so we have to use what we hope is moral suasion at times. And we hoped, I think, that seeing these courageous public servants who were willing to come forward, who were willing to do the right thing, demonstrate what patriotism really looks like, would encourage him to do the same. And I think our vice chair made a personal appeal for that. Whether that will be successful, and if not, what steps we might take, we'll find out, I think, soon enough.
So, Congressman, let's talk about the schedule of the hearing. I understand some of the hearings may be delayed a bit as we move forward, maybe spaced out a bit more, which certainly seems to make sense. There's an awful lot to digest after each one of these hearings. So can you talk about the strategy in just as far as getting all the information in front of the American people, spacing it out in a way that too much isn't thrown out there all at once?
Sure. And, you know, as you might imagine, we have really a mountain of information, and we have to pick what is most important to show the American people, and how can we show it in a way that's accessible and engaging for people. And how do you do that when you continue to get new information? You know, we have, I think, a very, very talented staff, but it's not an infinite resource. And so we're trying to put all that together and figure out, okay, what's the schedule that we can meet that makes the most sense in light of the information we're getting. And it's a fluid process, but I think we're doing as good a job as we can do. This is my third major investigation. I wish I had these kind of resources for the other two, and a staff like this dedicated to the task. And frankly, working with committee members where we're all on the same page, Democrats and Republicans united in our purpose. I think, you know, as you can see from former President Trump's comments of upset with McCarthy for doing probably what Trump wanted him to do, which is reject the committee, reject participation in it. It's been very helpful to have a committee where Democrats and Republicans are actually working together and want to hear what the witnesses have to say, not what each other has to say.
Yeah, it has been striking. Member of the January 6th Select Committee, Congressman Adam Schiff, thank you so much.